Hello, friends. Welcome inside, at least for me, Ben Garrett. The Riverland Roofing Studios. Riverland Roofing for all your roofing needs. 662-644-4297. Riverlandroofing.com. He's Zach Berry at Zach_Berry on Twitter. We both write at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On3. This QR code right here on your screen in front of me is for the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On3. If you are thinking about giving us a try, have ever thought about giving us a try, now is the perfect time to do it. New members get 50% off an annual subscription with our spring sale. So that's spring football intel, that's basketball portal intel, that's a year subscription to The Athletic just as a throw-in. That's all the national stuff. There's no better national people on the job right now, in my opinion, than the ones at On3, from Andy Staples, JD Piquel, Ari Wasserman, pick your guy, man, Chris Lowe, Ross Dellinger. They're all contributing. Josh Pate at On3. All you got to do is sign up with this QR code at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On3. Sign up today, 50% off an annual subscription for new members. Hey, Zach.
Hello. Hey, don't forget our friends over at Field of 68 as we got the Final Four this weekend.
Correct.
Those guys doing a great job. I know Rob Doster was losing his mind in that UConn Duke game. I mean, oh my goodness.
That game was so fun, dude. That game ruled. That game absolutely ruled.
We're gonna go ahead and check a bingo box off here. I'm gonna talk about my kids for just a second. We somehow got all the kids in the bar right before that happened, and they all were watching it.
Oh.
They're still really young, but I feel like that's a vivid memory that they will remember, because every single one of them watched, and everybody, all the kids, all the adults, everybody did the surrender cobra. Like everybody was like, oh, it was awesome. Very cool. I cannot believe Caden Boozer didn't just throw the ball up in the air to try to hit the Jumbotron or the scoreboard or whatever. Like, or just hold on to the ball.
Just hold on the ball. That was my whole thing, to see John Shire coaching them to advance the basketball. I'm just like, and I wasn't unique. I mean, everybody, now that you've been watching this, my hair, I got to get a haircut, man. It's popping out every side of the friggin' hat. Everybody's kind of agreed to the same thing. All you had to do was hold the ball. Why were you advancing it? And we still do not know. At Nate Go 43, already starting up comments in the chat. Still waiting on the word for a workout, Ben. Let me know. Nate, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Get through spring ball, and I promise you're going to have to. What would typically take you about 40 minutes will take 2 hours with your friend Ben. We're going to talk a lot, and we're going to take extended breaks because your guy needs as much work as possible. We'll get on it. We are live, MMM Mick. Thanks for joining us here on Talk of Champions. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review Talk of Champions in iTunes. I haven't said that in a while, but it is helpful. So, like, if you haven't yet, just jump into iTunes and drop a 5-star review. You could say, Ben, you're ugly. Ben, you're stupid. Zach, I love your hats, but Ben makes it all terrible. I don't care. Just make it a 5-star review. There in iTunes, simply search Talk Champions, where you'll find this podcast replay with my man Zach Berry. We both write for the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On3. Me and Brad after spring practice yesterday, which would be Tuesday, as well as Pete Golding's press conference, some of which you're about to hear as we get into this recruiting show. On and on and on. Yeah, man, we'd love to have you at the Ole Miss Spirit, and we'd love, just as you support Riverland Roofing and all these other great sponsors we have, including B&A Bank and Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group. Please also leave a review. Join the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Like right now, half off an annual sub, man. We need you. We love you. Love to have you. Come on and join us. So yes, we are live. James McDonald in the chat wants me to grow a mullet. I'm almost there. Mr. John Hickey, don't think you can make it through one. Yes, that's my Uncle John, and he's absolutely correct. I'm old and fat, and I don't run from that.
Mullets are cool.
I can play really good, like wiffle ball for half an inning, and then it just all falls apart because, again, no endurance whatsoever. What, Zach? I'm sorry.
I say mullets are kind of back now, right? Kids are rocking mullets again.
Yes. My friend Amber Clemmer and her husband Derek, our daughters play soccer together for TFC, for the Tupelo soccer group. And Amber said the exact same thing, man. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, it's also the speaking of the Duke UConn game, Braylon Mullins has the haircut that's popular.
Her son got a mullet, is what I was saying. Like the son was like Maddox or Sadler, both. When it was like, yeah, like I want a full on mullet. It became a full on fight in the haircut salon. My friend Katie Owen, who I grew up with, she cuts all our hair. And Katie's like, I'm not cutting this into a mullet. And Amber was like, I think it was Sadler, looking at her going, I'm getting a mullet. She ends up cutting it a little bit, whatever. He stops, gets up. He has a full-on mullet. He says, see, I won. That's boss moves. If you're asking me if mullets are back, they're so back. You walk out onto any travel ball baseball field, like, right. I'll fit in with this. You know what I mean? They want mullets. They want the full-on flair back there.
Yeah, and then I see a lot of kids that have just, like, the no guard down the side with, like, the full, like, lettuce on top. That's a thing. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Fred. He said he's ordered a ton of hats from Hovey. That's awesome. I was spreading the word.
Waterfall.
That's actually really good. Anytime I wear a Hovey hat, I no joke, will have several people come up to me and ask where I got it. So yeah, go check them out, HoveyDryGoods.com. I will say also, before we get into recruiting, the link is still up on the board. If you want to donate to my fundraiser for Blood Cancer United, that is still going. Obviously, the bracket challenge is over, but this runs all the way through the summer. And hey, look, if you want to, this weekend, we're doing a big Final Four fundraising party at the bar. So if you're in Nashville, if you want to come by, have some good beer, have some fellowship with a lot of good people, and then walk in, scan the little QR code, donate a little bit to a great cause, and help a lot of people, and watch some Final Four. We'll be there. So, but yeah, if you're still interested, if you missed the bracket challenge, all good. We're still raising money all the way through the summer. So on the it's a pin thread at the top. You can find that link in there. Very easy, intuitive website there. It's very, very simple to go in and donate. So appreciate everybody that joined the bracket challenge, and anyone and everyone that's donated. Really appreciate it. It's gonna help out. Gonna help out a lot of people.
Yes.
So that's what it's all about. It's not about me or the Ole Miss Spirit or anything like that. I'm just trying to do my part. So just wanted to make sure I give my thanks to everyone before we get into the show. So
yep. And again, that QR code above Zach's head is where you'll find that link to support him, to support us. We want you at the Ole Miss Spirit. As Zach is slowly, there it is. He's found his way to the QR code. That is the one on your screen. Scan and join today. Scan and join today. Today marks my 12 years of marriage, according to James McDonald. Mazel tov! Congratulations.
Nice.
How many years are you with your bride?
We have 10 this July coming up.
Nice. Are y'all going to do anything special? Have you made any plans?
Yeah, so the plan is to go to Italy.
Very nice.
Because anytime I can go to a country where it is perfectly fine to just eat pizza or pasta for breakfast, I'm all about it. So we're gonna good friend of mine does a lot of boutique travel arrangements and stuff for folks, so she's gonna help us out. But that is the plan, is to go check out Italy.
Well,
go to the Vatican, ask a lot of Dr. Robert Langdon questions, see if anybody catches the joke. That's a Da Vinci Code joke if you're not with me here. Dr. Robert Langdon is the character that Tom Hanks plays. I do that all the time to my Catholic friends, and they thought it was funny like the first 2 times, and now they're just like, all right, it's not funny anymore. But yeah, pretty excited. 10 years, it flies by, man.
16 years. 16 years.
16.
This June for my bride and I. There's Emily back there dressed as Professor McGonagall, I as Hagrid, Gracie as Hermione, or just a Hogwarts student. And then there's Riley as a baby dressed as Dobby the house elf. See, somebody in the review section of Apple, iTunes, all that stuff, just Talking Champions, right? The last one I got was from DB Brunt. I think I know this cat. He's been listening to the pod for a long time. He left a 1-star review and he says, "I'll come back when you stop acting so silly and using those voices." I didn't know I used them that often.
That's probably never going to happen.
But also,
for being honest,
I mean, that'd be like telling Zach not to wear his hats. What are we talking about? You're just asking me not to be myself? How dare you? So leave a 5-star review if you're an Ole Miss fan, a non-Ole Miss fan, just a Ben or Zach fan. 5 stars. That's what I want. I want some 5-star reviews. And 16 years for us this year, too, according to At the Jeep Adventure. Congratulations to you, my friend. Let's round of applause for him, too. James McDonald says 16 years. That's fantastic. Thank you, bro. It's a blessing from God. God is good. He's blessed me more than I'll ever deserve with a wife who's amazing. Prince Will and Daughtry both get manhandled in recent clips. Okay, so let's get into some things here. All right. We're past the pleasantries. Sorry. Zach and I hadn't seen each other or talked on the podcast really for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. So there was going to be some catching up to do. There was going to be some catching up to do, and now we've been caught up. Let's dive into some things. The first of which is this video from LSU practice, and this is what they're asking about. See, number 6. This is the question. Have you seen the TJ Daughtry film? Again, watch number 6 when we go back. Let's rewind here. Number 6, that's TJ. That's a running back that's got him, and he cannot get off the block. So have we seen the videos of TJ Daughtry things? Yes, we have. What do you I will say this. Ole Miss wanted to hold on to TJ Daughtry if he wanted to come back. However, TJ Daughtry was not going to be the green dot Mike. He was going to lose his green dot one way or another. Actually, in a visit with the Fiesta Bowl, Pete Golding said, "I want you, Luke Ferrelli, to be my green dot Mike." There's just not an opening right now. You start to see the considerations, how these things kind of play out a little bit. You start to see how it works out. So then irked or agitated or disrespected in his whatever he's feeling, after harsh truth, he runs to Lane and LSU, which best of luck to him. But that video, while a very small sample, the smallest of samples, one play in practice in March, or now April 1st, that is a lot of what we saw from TJ, as productive as he was. Ole Miss's tackle leader last year. We only got 12 minutes at practice yesterday. All right. And I spent that time walking around and talking to coaches, staffers, as many people as I could, because I couldn't watch things and just tell you some insider stuff. Let me go to the people while I got the time to do it. They're all here, and I did. And one of the very first things, and it was made crystal clear, is that Ole Miss has improved at linebacker. With Luke Ferrelli and Keaton Thomas, I was told actually from one staffer who, if he told you, not me, you'd go, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, I'll believe it then." But it's coming out of my stupid mouth. That's why you leave a 1-star review, DB Brunt, because you don't like my voices. Neither here nor there. The very first thing out of this dude's mouth was what? We've had to slow these dudes down. They've been going so hard. So has Ole Miss improved? Has TJ Daughtry, we weren't just talking out of our rear ends. Ole Miss wanted to keep TJ. I mean, they didn't run him off and then go get Luke. They waited for him to make his decision, and then he left, and then they went and got Luke. Luke wanted to be here to begin with, and they feel like they've improved there specifically on a completely revamped defense that's impressed so far.
I did notice like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that Lane had said that, hey, we gotta tamper some expectations in year one, and we can't expect immediate success kind of talk in the press conference. And I thought it was funny because I was like, oh, maybe he finally saw Sam Leavitt throw, or maybe got an up close look at the offensive line, and then he was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a little bit harder than I thought. But, it's fine. He gets to hang out with little Boosie and, maybe just eats Raising Cane's a lot. So good for him. And it's fine. We can move on and get into more recruiting stuff for Ole Miss. As who cares? It'll all be figured out September 19th, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Well said. Now let's dive into some recruiting stuff. All right. I've been getting a lot of questions. Hey, when are you and Zach talking recruiting? When are you and Zach talking recruiting? We're doing it right here and now. First and foremost, got some questions in the chat about the basketball portal. Classless Reb wants to know some names to watch and things like that. Fred G. Rebs wants an update on Ty Keys. We've got some stuff coming, but first and foremost, if you had to kind of, for the person who can't really tune in all the time, this is their one, like you have their their undivided attention for one small stretch. What is the update? Recruiting expert from the Ole Miss Spirit, Zach Berry, on Ole Miss recruiting right now. What does the Ole Miss fan need to know right now?
I would say I think Ole Miss is ahead of schedule in state. I think getting Ben Jarvis Shoemaker committed early was huge. Still holding on to Keegan Croucher despite Kentucky coming after him really hard, Georgia coming after him really hard, I think is big as well. I do think Ole Miss is in a really good spot for a lot of big names in state. I think I already put in an RPM pick for Ole Miss to land Kaden Moss. I wrote in the piece, I don't think anything's imminent there, but I do think Ole Miss ultimately signs him. I also like Ole Miss for Derwin Fields at the moment. I think Derwin Fields sees kind of what everybody else is seeing outside of the state that come in to visit is Randall Joyner is really, really good at his job, and he gets the best out of players. Speaking of Randall, shout out to him, now father of two. Big ups to him. Got to play man defense now, no more zone. But yeah, I mean, I think the proof is there, right? You look in spring practice and you see William Eccles, you see Jan Brown, you see Cam Franklin, you see all these high school guys that Ole Miss signed, and they're already making impacts and they're getting ready for their draft year. I think that that's big for recruiting. Several guys have mentioned that. A lot of times it was always and it's not a knock on Ole Miss. I mean, I think a lot of kids say it anyway because it's true, but it was always like, oh, it's family down there. Like everybody makes you feel like you're at home. And, I like the small town feel. And like people still say that, but they're also like, hey, Ole Miss is playing in the playoff now. Ole Miss is winning a lot of games. Ole Miss is getting guys in the league. So, that NFL draft a couple years ago with Walter Nolan, Princely, Trey Amos, Jared Ivey, those guys getting drafted, the record 8 draft picks, that speaks volumes to what the staff's been able to do. And especially up front on the defensive line, I think that's where Randall and Pete have made a lot of headway with a lot of top flight prospects. I mean, you're getting a lot of the in-state guys to come into town, which is huge, I think, because it is, once again, a really loaded class inside the state of Mississippi, which is, it seems like it's been about 3-4 years in a row now. But, looking at Derwin Fields, Fred asked about Ty Keys. I like where Ole Miss is at with Ty Keys. Miami is going to try to get in there and muddy the water a little bit, but I like Ole Miss's chances with Ty Keys. He really likes Ole Miss. Frederick Ford's a guy that I think people need to know, linebacker out of Greenwood. Antonio Berry, offensive tackle from Tupelo. You've got Dolph McDonald coming into town soon. He recently decommitted from Colorado. Trey Collins, the safety who was committed to Ole Miss and is coming back into town. I wouldn't be shocked to see Ole Miss get him back into the fold. They really like his skill set. I mean, it's a deep class once again. Jalen Smith, you go all the way down to 18th in the state. An edge guy out of Vicksburg that was recently in town. Sheldon Isaac, wide receiver out of Macomb that they really like. So it's once again a really deep class. Now you got to remind yourself that Ole Miss can't sign them all. That's not really how it works because they're gonna spread the net out. And then also you've got Mississippi State and surrounding SEC schools that are going to want these guys as well. But you kind of look at if you go to the Ole Miss Spirit and you go to the Facebook football recruiting tab up top, you can scroll down and look at visits and you can see who's all been in town. I mean, this weekend you've got 3 marquee guys coming in that are all from out of state. You've got Kenneth Simon II from Brentwood, Tennessee, right down the street from me. You've got Adrian Cole from Douglas County, the pride of Deuce Alexander. And then you've got Brylan Odor from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right down the road from me. Right now on campus, you've got Caden Fife, a Tennessee commit that's from Georgia. You've got Kylan Bobo, running back out of Tupelo. But you just kind of look through. I mean, Ole Miss has had a guy in from Oklahoma. They've had a running back in from Louisiana. They've had a pretty big contingent of guys from Arizona that were doing a big SEC swing. Montre Jackson, I think, is someone that Ole Miss fans need to know about. He's a cornerback out of Texas. You're going to have to go head-to-head with Steve Sarkisian there, but he likes Ole Miss a lot. He likes Pete Golding. Marcus Woodson's hit the ground running since he got hired. He's making an impact already. One guy lately, I think Ole Miss fans need to put a pin in, Lawrence Britt, the wide receiver from Memphis out of Lausanne. He was kind of all Missouri, and after the switch up with the coaching staff, he hadn't been back into town. Came back in. He met with LaDamian Washington. He met with Dante Moncrief, Jake Schoonover, Patrick Carter, and he told Chad Simmons that Ole Miss made a huge move. I think that he's one to keep an eye on. Right down the road, he can come into town pretty quickly. I expect him to be back for an official visit and him to be in town for some games. That's one I think Ole Miss fans need to know. But yeah, I mean, I think you look at all the official visits that have happened, and then the official visits that will be happening later this month and later this summer. Carlos May was recently in town, a guy from Birmingham, Alabama, that Auburn and Alabama and Georgia want, and he's still right there with Ole Miss. So you don't want to finish second. Nobody cares about finishing second, but I do think it's pretty evident that there hasn't really been a drop-off. I would probably argue there's been a little bit of an uptick in high school recruiting versus the last staff. And that's not like a sour grapes thing or, poking fun at Kiffin. I think it's been a more concerted effort to prioritize guys in high school early. I think another out-of-state guy that Ole Miss fans need to know about is Myson Johnson-Cook, running back out of East St. Louis. Going to be tough. Missouri usually lands those guys. But I've had a couple sources tell me that he really likes Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is in a really good spot there. The two big ones, in my opinion, and this is very long-winded, Ben, I apologize, but I'm kind of just emptying the clip here because we hadn't talked a lot. The two big ones, I think, out-of-state guys that you need to know, Mekhi Brown, edge out of Greenwich, Connecticut, and Easton Royal. Everybody's going to say, well, Easton Royal's from Brother Martin. He's from New Orleans. There's no way. This is from him. This is not – I mean, I'm getting stuff from sources that say that Ole Miss is in a really good spot here. He's committed to Texas, but it's coming from him. This isn't me talking about it on a message board, or this isn't me saying, well, my friend's cousin talked to somebody at Dodge's. No, this is coming from him. He continually brings up Ole Miss and continues to talk about how hard they're recruiting him, how much he likes Frank Wilson, how much he likes LaDamian Washington, how much he likes Pete Golding. That one's going to be an absolute dogfight. It's going to be a 3-team race with Texas, Ole Miss, and LSU all the way to the very end. But I think Easton Royal, Mekhi Brown are the two big out-of-state guys to know. But, yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to be kind of similar to the last couple classes where they get the big ones in state. I think that they're going to have their pick of the top flight guys in the state of Mississippi, and then they're going to go in the surrounding areas. They're going to go to Texas. They're going to go to Georgia. They're going to hit Alabama. They're going to go to Louisiana. I'm not saying they're going to get the best players out of Louisiana. I'm not saying they're going to get 5 or 6, but Frank Wilson's Frank Wilson, and LSU is going to get theirs, always do. But Frank Wilson's on staff for a reason, and there are always good players in that state. So it's going to be a very, very busy summer for Ole Miss. June 5th is a big one. 10 visitors coming in town, all official visits. You've got Aiden Starling, longtime Georgia commit, wide receiver from Texas. Another guy like Easton Royal that continues to talk about Ole Miss. Big one that I'm interested in seeing is Pole Mayola, safety out of Rancho Santa Margarita, California. 6 foot, 165 safety, big time playmaker. And then you've got Antonio Kiefer is one that I'm not there yet. Close to an RPM pick there with Antonio Kiefer. Really, really likes John Garrison. Really likes Jake Schoonover. He likes what he's seen from the offensive line. He's been in town. He was in town earlier last month when they had kind of a big, almost like an offensive line party. You had Kiefer, you had Kaden Moss, you had Antonio Berry. There was a lot of big offensive line targets that were in town. Antoine Jackson will be in town that weekend for his official visit. Edge out of White Station in Memphis. And then another big-time flip target in Benny Easter Jr., Texas Tech commit, longtime Texas Tech commit, another wide receiver from Texas. So they're going to hit a lot of states. That following weekend, June 12th, is another big one. 8 visitors, all official visitors. And I'd be remiss, Ben, if I didn't mention one big-time target for this class and then one big-time target for 2028. LaMarcus Jones and Braylon Bedford, both Mississippi guys, transferred to Brentwood Academy. So I'll be able to get a good look at them. I'll be able to get a good look at both of them this year. And then once LaMarcus Jones is gone, Braylon Bedford's senior year next year, I'll be able to get a good look at him. And he's been kind of one that's been on the radar since he was in like 8th grade, 9th grade. So he's finally getting close to where it's his senior year. So busy time. The visits have been, I think you probably noticed it too, Ben. I think the high school visitors have come in a lot earlier than the last 6 years, where it was kind of like, we're going to focus on spring ball. We'll put high school recruiting on the back burner until the late spring, summer. It's been hot and heavy, it feels like, since the end of the Fiesta Bowl, where they've just been hitting it hard to get these guys on campus, meet the new staff. And especially now with spring practice going on, they want to get these guys into town to see what everything looks like.
That was a great breakdown. It was really hard for me in the back end to try to keep up as I was trying to click on every name to show them on the screen. Like I was behind, man. My guy was rolling. He'd been ready to empty that clip for a minute, boy. That's why he's the best. He's Zach Berry at the Ole Miss Spirit, OMSpirit.com, affiliate of On3, the Ole Miss recruiting expert of experts. That QR code above his head. 50% off if you're a new member, want to try us out, an annual sub at the Ole Miss Spirit. We'd love to have you. Scan that QR code, man. Come hang out with us, support us. Y'all know how y'all can best support this show and us and Brad Logan and Sudu and all these, man. That QR code, scan it and show your love, man, and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. We hear y'all. We hear everything you say, see everything you say, take it to heart, and we'd appreciate your continued support. Even more moving forward. C. Rogers 4912 in the chat. Ben, I married my wife 36 years ago this May. That wow. Is a standing ovation deserved accomplishment, sir. I'm sure it's been every single day has been happily ever after. I know it's been just like that for me and my wife. No, it's hard, but if you let go and let God and exhibit your love for God through your person, at least in my situation, I don't want to speak for C. Rogers 4912, but 36 years is beautiful. If you show your love for God through the love of your spouse, man, you're doing it right. You're living biblically. So that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So a few questions before we jump into a question I have myself at Dakota King 2457. Any word on, I believe, Jordan Renaud not being on campus? We've covered this here on Talk of Champions, also at the Ole Miss Spirit. I've written about it, actually wrote about it again today. He's here. He's been here. There was never a question. The issue was he arrived with a pre-existing injury. I was told in a couple of weeks he should be back. Nothing you're particularly worried about, but there was, I guess, some confusion with my friend Dalen's reporting or something that he's not been on campus. So yeah, he's good. He's going through treatment and stuff.
When I asked the staff, everybody just did the laughing emoji. And they were like, he's been here. Like,
that's as clear as it gets, I suppose. So yeah, he's here. He's going through physical therapy, all that kind of stuff. In a few weeks, maybe he'll be back. So that's the update there. You mentioned Kaden Moss. He recently visited LSU. I'm going to give you the floor again. Tell me why you think or where things are, because you talked a little bit about it. You think Ole Miss ultimately lands him, but Kaden Moss, I picked him long ago as my dude for 2027. I guess is the class we've been doing dudes for these classes for how long, dude? So this is my guy for 2027, Kaden Moss. 6'4" and a half, 295. Interior offensive lineman, could kick out maybe to tackle, especially at right tackle. Consensus 4-star across all services. Bullish is ESPN on him more than others. He's a 5-star according to ESPN, number 13 national prospect. He recently visited Lane Kiffin and LSU, seemed to have a good time. In your opinion, what do you think of Ole Miss's standing with Kaden Moss? What's the update?
Is a factor. I will say he was already in New Orleans for the opening, so it was pretty easy to just pop on over to Baton Rouge to take the visit. I just think he has a great relationship with John Garrison and Pete Golding, Kelvin Bolden, Austin Thomas, Dante Moncrief. Now Marcus Woodson's in the mix. A lot of people have been recruiting him for a long time. He, as of now, is still at Jackson Academy. I know I heard a lot of rumblings that a certain head coach at a certain SEC school in a certain location in Louisiana was trying to get him to transfer out for his senior year to go to ULab down in Baton Rouge to play with his son. As of now, he's still at Jackson Academy. I don't know. You can just kind of, Caden's been pretty good about interviews. He's pretty candid. I don't want to say he tips his hand, but he kind of perks up. He lights up a little bit when he talks about Ole Miss. I think it's genuine when he talks about how the staff makes him feel like a priority. And it's an all hands on deck approach with how Ole Miss is recruiting right now. I've talked to several players. I've talked to several recruits. I've talked to several coaches, handlers, 7-on-7 people. And when I ask them or I ask the actual recruits, who do you talk to the most? It's typically a list of about 4 or 5 names. So I think the days of, well, here's your position coach or here's your territory recruiter, like that's not what's going on right now with Ole Miss. It's a collaborative effort. And I think that's by design too. I think Pete wants multiple guys on multiple players, especially someone of Kaden Moss's caliber. But I do think it's a little bit more collaborative because I do think the staff is a little more comfortable with how Pete runs things versus how it's been the last couple of years. And again, that's not like a sour grapes, make fun of Lane Kiffin thing. Lane Kiffin just ran things differently. Ole Miss is back to doing territory recruitment where guys who have ties to areas are going to be recruiting in that area, which makes sense. You have these pre-existing relationships with high school coaches and 7-on-7 coaches in the area and things like that. And I think that's very, I feel like that's a no-brainer, right? I think that makes the most sense. But as far as Kaden Moss, I think Ole Miss ultimately lands him just because of the relationships that he's had built with this staff. I think Garrison's done a phenomenal job with him. Schoonover's been very involved here as well. And then just, kind of the who's who on staff that are from Mississippi have made a huge impact in recruiting him. I would probably say LSU is the biggest threat. I think Alabama was up there too. Alabama changed offensive line coaches. I think that kind of pushed them down a peg, but I don't think Miami is as involved as some people think. Mario Cristobal obviously does a phenomenal job recruiting offensive linemen, but I do think this is an Ole Miss LSU battle, and I think Ole Miss ultimately wins out.
There are very few in the business, if any, that are better at this right here than one Zach Berry. And if you watch these highlights of Kaden, man, you understand why every school in the country wants him. And right now, I would say, like Zach, it's between Ole Miss and LSU. LSU made a move with the visit this weekend. That's why I asked Zach specifically about it, because I think That's the one to watch more than anything right now in the short term, and maybe in the long term too, but certainly in the short term, LSU is the one I'm
I'll
watching.
say this too, just because in case people are wondering or ask, you mentioned he is listed as an interior offensive lineman. I think that's where he ends up playing. I mean, if you look at him, if you see him in person, the dude from the waist down is just built like a brick shithouse. I mean, his legs are massive. I think he is an interior mover. I think he is someone who can absolutely mow people down. He's a better athlete than people give him credit for. He can move. He plays tackle for Jackson Academy. I think though, when that top tier catches up with the bottom, I think when he gets in a weight room and gets some technique work, I think he's going to end up on the interior. And that's not a knock. Like, that's not a bad thing.
No.
I think sometimes people look at like, well, he plays tackle and he's going to get moved inside. That's not a bad thing. I think you want that. I think you want the versatility when you get these guys that play tackle in high school, but then they can slide in. I mean, I think that's a good thing for players. I mean, that NFL GMs like that you can move around. That makes you valuable. But I think he's going to eventually be a guard. And I mean, I talked to Shea Hodge, who was his offensive coordinator at Jackson Academy, and he was like, he's an NFL player. He has the mentality. He has the work ethic. If he, stays doing what he's doing, stays healthy, he thinks there's no way he does not play in the league.
This is Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Zach Berry at Zach_Berry on Twitter. We're both at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and affiliate of On 3 all day, every day. That QR code above Zach's head. If you want to support us more than anything outside of patronizing these sponsors like Riverland Roofing, who we're so thankful for, and Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group, College Corner, Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford for your next car, truck, or Jeep, 662-234-8000. AllenSamuelsOxford.com. Our thanks to Game Day Haircuts, 662-380-5658, GameDayHaircuts.com. Go get you a fresh cut. I know I'm about to have to, because boy, howdy, the mullet, while popular with the youths these days, not particularly popular when you're 40. So definitely got to get this mullet cut up. And if I was in Oxford, Mississippi, the only place I'd go is Game Day Haircuts, located on University Avenue. And then the Hearn Law Firm, Talk of Champions' law firm at 662-766-7777, hearnlawfirm.net. Philip Hearn and his team have locations throughout the Southeast. So call them today, 662-766-7777. Pete Golding held a press conference after spring football practice yesterday. And I know we've got some questions about the basketball portal and potential targets in the chat. Classless Reb, I see you. We're going to get to you in just a second. But Pete Golding had his press conference after spring football yesterday and had a really interesting answer in terms of balancing the transfer portal era and also high school signees and talent and freshmen and just roster building in general that I want to touch on in regards to how big Zach thinks this high school class is going to be. But before we do that, let's hear from both C Spire and Riverland Roofing, two proud sponsors of Talk of Champions.
Start my weekend.
Own your day on the Network for Connected Living. There's more to see. C-Spire. Customer inspired.
Protecting homes and businesses from the whims of nature, you need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
So a lot of stuff we want to touch on now as we close this thing out. The basketball transfer targets coming up first. Here's what Pete Golding said after or following spring football practice yesterday in regards to roster building. Listen to what Pete said.
On those lines, Pete, just philosophically, in your ideal world, how would your roster be balanced in terms of guys that you brought in out of high school versus portal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think when you have stability in the system, and you keep on hearing me that, but, like, if you go do your research, right, like, there's got to be stability in order for there to be development, right? Like you got to come in, you got to learn the system. After you learn the system, then you focus on the technical aspect. And then at some point, you got to coach the opposite side of the ball, right? Of anticipation of what's coming and all those type of things. So, there's a lot of research out there and there's not a lot of stability in systems anymore. So when you have that, you would like to do that from the ground up, right? You want to recruit high school guys so they get in here and learn it that freshman year and get bigger, stronger, and faster and learn your system. And now they're plug and play for the next year. And so now you've given yourself a year and a half to prepare that guy instead of having to always go portal. And now you got 6 months, right, to really develop them, let them learn your system and do all those things. But I think it's so unique because you don't know, right? And that's what I always tell them from recruiting. I'd much rather guys not come than come and leave. And so that's why we're brutally honest about everything up front, because then they've got to start all over, but then we get no return on our investment, right? Does that make sense? And so I think it's just really important for us, and that's why I hired JDB, because you've already had a locker room, right, that had been recruited to play in that system, right? And I wanted those freshmen to become sophomores, and I wanted those sophomores to become juniors. And so obviously we're going to take a 5-hour radius, right, and we're going to try to do our best job to keep those guys at home if they want to be here and they have the ability to play winning football in the SEC. Obviously we'll expand that as large as we need to if they're an impact player. I do think Ole Miss is a national brand now. You've had success on both sides of the ball. You're a top 3 team in the country based off of last year, so you have the ability to spread that net. But I think from a business standpoint, you got to be really smart, right? That it's hard to come in here as an 18-year-old freshman and really play, so you got to know their mindset as well. And so some of those guys that you need to have to make an impact right now based on who's in the room, then obviously that's a portal concept. And so I think it's a really good blend. But I think, when you recruit the right way and you have stability within a scheme, I think that allows you to sign more high school players than not. If it's constant turnover and you got to teach everybody, right, and there's no carryover, you might as well get the older, more experienced guy that right, and fill those holes. So I think it's a really good balance. But that was something, even like our D-line last year, we didn't have to go out in the portal a lot, right, because we had took those 4 the year before, right, that didn't play a snap, but now they're ready to go and they're all starters. And so obviously, ideally, that's the way we want to do it, all right, but then you have guys leave, right, some guys don't pan out, right, evaluations aren't a perfect science, and then obviously we need an older guy with experience to come in and play winning football. So I think that'll change year in and year out. I don't think that's something that's on paper, here's this number and that number. I think it's based on, all right, who's returning? Did we have injuries, right? Where's the development of the position? Are they who we thought they are? And so I think that's a year-to-year process.
Having heard that, which, man, you talk about a difference in press conferences. That thing went for 30 minutes and like there's so much to glean from it. Having heard that really expansive answer, a breakdown of how he would like to build things versus the portal reality, how big do you expect this high school class to be, knowing last year they finished, depending on your service, top 25-ish with their class. Some had some losses toward the end, especially to landing them, specifically Corey Barber and stuff. What do you expect this class to look like as far as numbers and overall ranking?
Well, right now it's top 10. I mean, you've got mentioned Keegan Croucher at the top. I think he has a legitimate shot to eventually challenge for 5-star status with a really strong senior year. And I mean, the guy's playing at a AAA program now and at the Baylor school. I mean, that place is just a factory. So he's going to have all the opportunities to have a lot of success. I mean, it's hard to really talk about numbers because the portal's so different. But if you listen to what Pete was saying, I think you get an idea of kind of what they're going for with, how many players they want to take. I mean, one thing that stood out to me, he said that, we want guys to come and stay and develop and learn. We don't want guys to come and leave. And then he also said, we're very upfront with people. I've heard parents say that too. Like when they sit down with Pete and they sit down with the staff, they're honest with them. And they tell them like, hey, if your kid comes here, they're going to get opportunities, but they're going to have to work and they're going to have to develop. And it's not, hey, we think your kid's a 5-star and he's great and he's going to come in and be a guy day one. They're not saying that to everybody. I don't think there's a lot of people you can say that to anyways, even if you are telling the truth. I mean, it's hard to come in and play as a true freshman right away. I mean, not a lot of people can do that. I mean, it's SEC football, it's Power 4 football. It's hard to do. But I do think you're going to see a little bit of an uptick in high school evaluations and bringing in guys that they believe that they can develop and make a difference in the system. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show, Ben, with what Randall Joyner and Pete Golding have been able to do on the defensive line. I mean, talk about a luxury. I mean, defensive linemen are probably the most expensive players in the portal next to offensive tackle. And, Ole Miss didn't have to go out and get 4 or 5 dudes to make impacts because they had William Eccles and Cam Franklin and Jan Brown that are already there and already know the system, already understand the culture. They're already in the locker room. I think that's big. So getting it to where you can do that in every room is going to be hard. It's not, I don't know if you can do it. I mean, it's just this day and age, kids want to play and not every kid is going to buy in. So there's going to be dudes that they really like Ole Miss and they like the staff, but that clock's ticking and they want to go somewhere and play. So it's not every kid's going to be patient and buy in. But I think this staff has done a really good job of conveying that message to parents and families and players. And I think that you'll probably see a similar size to what they signed in 26, 23 commits. I don't think we're going to get back to the Houston Nut days where you're signing 38. But yeah, I mean, I think that what, Pete said, like, hey, we want guys that want to be here. I think that they weed those guys out pretty quick, right? Like you bring them in, you present them how you like. Mekhi Brown was talking to Chad Simmons about that. He said that Randall and Pete kind of laid out what their plan was for him. I mean, I think that's how you weed them out, right? Hey, this is our 4-year plan for you. This is our 3-year plan for you. I think that is crucial to being able to know which guys you want to invest in and which guys you want to, go down to signing day with, because you don't want to waste, precious time and effort when you can go and get a kid somewhere else that, maybe he is a 4-star, maybe he is a 5-star, maybe he's a 3-star, but you evaluate him in person, you think he can be a difference maker, and you know that he wants to be there. That's obviously way more valuable than what somebody looks like on paper.
The biggest threat to Keegan Croucher, in your opinion, right now in Ole Miss is who?
I think it's Kentucky. He really liked Oregon, and before he committed to Ole Miss, and Will Stein, obviously now the head coach of Kentucky, he was the OC at Oregon. Will Stein, kind of like what Pete Golding's done since he took over. Will Stein and Kentucky have been very, very, very aggressive on the recruiting trail, and they have been very active in getting guys on campus and reaching out to, everybody. They're not just recruiting the Southeast. They're going all over the place. That's probably it. I think Georgia will end up going another direction. That's not a knock on Croucher. I just think Georgia's going to use their time wisely in trying to get someone. I think it's going to be Kentucky or Ole Miss down the line. I think he sticks with Ole Miss. I think the Joe Judge, like not the hire, but him staying on staff was huge because, obviously Joe Judge is a Northeast guy. Keegan Croucher's from Connecticut, from New York. So he values that relationship and he believes in what he's done. And again, kind of like Randall with like the proof on field with how he's been able to develop. I mean, what Joe Judge was able to do with Trinidad Chambliss in like 4 months is insane. I mean, the guy statistically is already in the mix to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. Definitely, the best single season. I mean, Ole Miss went 13-2 and was, a couple inches away from playing for a national championship. No one's ever come close. So, I don't think he's going to break all of Eli Manning's records. I'm not saying that, but I mean, Trinidad Chambliss and this offense have a legitimate shot to get right back where they were in January. So, I think Croucher sticks. I know people are groveling a little on the message board about he's still taking visits. He's still talking to people. I mean, that's how it is. And I mean, I would think that's not good business if he wasn't. I mean, you gotta have an insurance policy. You gotta have a backup plan. What if Joe Judge, gets a great opportunity to go back to the NFL and leaves? That's going to change things. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm just, you got to be prepared. Worst case scenario type stuff. But long-winded answer there, Ben, but I think it's Kentucky for the biggest threat for Croucher.
A good question here from Lloyd Christmas Reb in the chat. I'll leave it to you, Zach. What over the last 3 or 4 years makes that high school recruiting make sense as far as what Pete Golding said? Real question. We have one because of the portal. Explain. I like that he said it, but
I think the buy-in is the most important thing. Knowing that players want to be there. I mean, look, we all know about rev share. We all know about NIL. I mean, players have been getting paid for 50 years, whatever. I mean, players getting money is not new. It's just in everybody's face now. So, yeah, weeding out the guys that want to play for Ole Miss and want to compete versus, hey, this is just a guy that wants to come in and get a bag and take some cool Instagram photos and then bounce if he can't play. That's a really tough thing to do. I think it's hard. It's difficult to be able to know because, a kid's going to say everything you want him to say when you have that interview. You have that final recruiting visit. You have that official visit, sit down, that one-on-one. That's kind of Pete's job, right? To be able to look in the eyes of these recruits and know who's bluffing and, who's full of shit. Like, are you being honest with me, or are you just telling me what you think I want to hear? I think Pete working with Nick Saban, recruiting for Nick Saban, and then working under Lane Kiffin and knowing how to recruit and now being a head coach, I think that's a huge advantage when being able to have those final interviews, right? Because you do all the recruiting, you go to the houses, you meet the mom, you meet the dad, you meet the grandma, you meet the uncles, the aunts, all the friends and family, the cousins. Everybody's your best friend. Everybody's excited Pete's in the house. Everybody's excited that Pete's on the sidelines. But when it gets down to make a decision, like this is the old adage with recruiting, right? It's hard for 17-year-olds to tell people no that have been recruiting them for a year, 2 years. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. So, that's part of the job. And that's, like he said, it's not a perfect science, but you have to be able to decipher who really wants to play for you and who is just there for, the internet clout.
Well, patiently waiting all hour in the chat has been Classless Reb, wanting to know, does Zach have any names to watch for the basketball portal that opens next week? Well, first, I want to say to you, friend Classless Reb, I guess you haven't been at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, affiliate of On 3, because a few days ago, I ran a transfer portal preview with needs, a roster outlook, early targets, some of those names. Obviously, the big news this week, as far as what we know, is that Elias Carmerdine has returned and will be playing off the ball next season, but has returned for Ole Miss next year. Some names to watch include Colorado forward Bangot Dak. Ole Miss needs some size, some rim protection. What a great name. Jalen Reed from LSU is a redshirt junior and the son of Ole Miss legend Justin Reed. I want to note, though, Jalen has been hurt with serious injury the last 2 years. So that's one that I've heard a little bit on, but I don't know how much I believe much of it. Southern Miss forward Tyler Bully Weeks put up a double-double against Ole Miss in December. Keep an eye on him. Andrew McKeever from St. Mary's, I mean, that was their rebounding guy. You're going to see a lot of names like that. But for you, Zach, who would you say are some names to keep an eye on? What have you heard? All those kind of things.
Yeah, it's just to preface, the portal officially opens next week and will run through the 21st. So April 7th through the 21st. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be just an absolute sprint, but hard for me to kind of give you concrete names to know because the portal hasn't opened. Coaches can't really do anything right now. They're waiting on it to be official. Now look, there's some back channeling, there's some tampering. I have a thread on our board, notable transfer portal entries. If you want to look through there, I've been posting guys that are entering the portal that I think Ole Miss would either benefit from reaching out to or have connections to. So that's a running list right there. Right now, I mean, one of the recent ones that popped up is Cameron Hunter. Ole Miss was pretty close to getting him a couple years ago. He was at Central Arkansas. He was kind of one of those boomerang transfers where he was at Central Arkansas, left, went back. He's a bucket. He scores. I think Ole Miss needs somebody like that. Obviously, Zach, you need to score. I know that. But I think Ole Miss needs like a dog that can run the point, a guy that can go get you a bucket. I think that was kind of missing on this team this year. You saw it a little bit in the SEC tournament. AJ Storr, Comerdine, Patton Pinkins here and there. But I think that you need to have someone that you can, put the stool down, sit down for a timeout and say, hey, go get me two right here. Go get to the line. I think that that's something that Ole Miss needs. And what you mentioned, like you need Comerdine off the ball. He was asked to be a point. I on the board, I called him a forward. I mean, he's a wing. He's a forward. Like I asked a couple buddies that coach basketball and asked them like, hey, what would you define as a wing? Is it a guard or a forward? And, it's kind of depends on who it is. Comerdine's a bigger guard. He's he can play as a three, but he definitely needs to be off the ball. I think in the tournament, you saw him off the ball and he was a lot more comfortable, had a lot more success. I mean, I could kind of see it. You kind of see it in his face, like at the games, like he looked to be a lot more loose and a little more relaxed rather than having to bring the ball up and run the offense. Cameron Hunter, I think, is a name. Obviously, Jalen Reed's got the tie to Ole Miss with his dad, but the injuries are concerning. I think that you could look at, the names that Ben had already mentioned. I think Isaiah Johnson is a guy that Ole Miss could absolutely reach out to. You talk about a dude that can go get you a bucket. All Big 12 honorable mention from Colorado, 17 points per game. He's someone that can go get you some buckets. Toledo transfer Leroy Blyden Jr. I think he's someone, he was MAC freshman of the year, 16.5 points, 4 assists per game, shot 40% from three. Jeremiah Wilkinson is one that I think a lot of people are asking about or know about. The Georgia guard, he averaged over 17 last year. He's going to be expensive. He's going to have a lot of suitors. He's someone I know a lot of people have said, hey, Ole Miss needs to get a little bit bigger. Wilkinson's only 6'1", but you got to find that fine line, Ben, where you need size. You need some positional size because we're getting to where basketball is kind of positionless now. But at some point, you just need guys that can score. I'm not saying to roll out a bunch of, 5'8" dudes, but, 6'1", you're not big for basketball, but you're not tiny, but the dude can fill it up. I think you could look at somebody like Brett Decker from Liberty, 6'3", 17 points. He shot 47% from three, Ben. Originally from Kentucky. I don't know if Mark Pope's going to go that route. I mean, Mark Pope is going to have all the pressure on him next year after what happened this year with Kentucky. Really burying the lead here, Ben, but Rowan Brumbaugh is one I think Ole Miss fans need to know. Signed with Chris Beard at Texas, left, went to Georgetown. He played this year at Tulane, was really good for Tulane, was kind of their go-to guy this season. I think that he is absolutely someone you need to know. But right now, it's just kind of looking for connections, looking for fits. We really don't know until Ole Miss starts bringing guys in. I think you mentioned in your piece Bully Weeks from Southern Miss, nearly 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, first team all Sun Belt for Southern. That dude can play. If I was putting a team together, he'd be someone that I'd reach out to because he's a dog. But yeah, it's hot and heavy. You're going to see more and more guys get in the portal. An interesting one here, Dior Johnson, Tarleton State. 24 points per game. 26 minutes per game, was the second leading scorer in college basketball this year. He was on Ole Miss's radar. I'll say this. I was talking to my buddy Trilly the other day, and I said that Dior Johnson's CV, his resume, if you will, you want to hear it?
Yes.
From high school to now,
Mm-hmm.
Dior Johnson has played at Oak Hill Academy, Saugerties Senior, IMG Academy, Finley Prep, Fairfax Senior, Mayfair, Centennial, Prolific Prep, SoCal Academy. That's all high school. Okay.
How do you build a transcript from that?
Don't know. That's not my problem. Then he goes JUCO, Clarendon College. Then he goes to Pitt. Then he goes to UCF. And then he just played at Tarleton State.
I'm good.
That is insane. But hey, guy can score.
You need buckets more than anything. I mean, one guy I'm kind of looking at is Virginia Tech transfer, Nicholas Avdelas, 6'9", 12.1 points, 4.6 assists. If you wanted to kind of like dip back into the Virginia Tech or try to like take another Virginia Tech swing because Sean Padula was so good for you. Ole Miss has missed the NCAA tournament two out of 3 years under Chris Beard. When they made it, Sean Padula was a major reason why. Maybe if you wanted to double dip there at Virginia Tech, that's a name to know. So you think about connections. You brought up, in my opinion, or at least coming into this, the person I was going to bring up first and foremost, which was Cameron Hunter. Notably, his head coach at Central Arkansas is Anthony Boone. You probably remember him if you're an Ole Miss fan as the all-time Ole Miss basketball great. Always had the knee injuries, always battling injury with that man. There are fewer dogs in Ole Miss basketball history than Anthony Boone. So that's one certainly to keep an eye on because like what Zach said, right now it's connections. There's some pre-portaling, there's tampering, all those things are happening. Unless it's a grad transfer, though, there are no visits. There's no anything other than a few things. So these names that we've mentioned, I know there's been contact with at least 3 of them. And Zach is always running with the latest and telling you about the latest at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of 3. That QR code above Zach's head. Thank y'all. You got one more thing to go on before we get out of here?
I was going to just throw out a couple more names that were yesterday that I think are possibilities. Probably my favorite in the portal right now, just game and name. Canadian kid, transferred from Memphis, played at Mercer. Baraka Okoji.
What a great name.
If you were a Mortal Kombat kid, you remember Baraka. 20 points per game, 5 assists.
Now I'm just going to get on Baraka highlights. Hold on.
Yeah, he can play. Santos Cyril played at Georgia, the big man. He is someone that can really clear the lane for you, can get some boards, can get some blocks. He is someone I think you need to know. And then
Jelani is just so horrifying looking. Good grief.
That's not what Baraka Okoji looks like. That's from the game. But Jelani Hamilton's another one. Georgia State, all Sun Belt guy, nearly 18 points, 5 rebounds. Those are the last couple names there. And then I've had a couple people ask me about Cameron Taylor, UNC Asheville, 19 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. So stay locked in with that thread. I'll be putting names in there from just kind of what I'm hearing, who I think fit. So we'll see. Once this thing starts, Ben, April 7th,
crazy. It's going to go crazy.
It's going to be wild because you get, 3 weeks. That's it. So it's gonna be fun.
One you mentioned, or if we're talking about potential connections, UNC Greensboro pipeline, Mikael Brown-Jones almost got him from UNC Greensboro. Justin Neely makes sense. A 6'6" senior, 17.9 points per game last year, 11.5 rebounds. So a double-double in a big way is just, if you're looking for wing play, a guy that could seamlessly step in, at the 3 or the 4. Man, you're looking at him. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Justin Neely. So go to the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and affiliate of On 3. That QR code for new members, 50% off if you join today. That QR code above Zach's head. We'd love to have you. That's how you can support us the most. Also by leaving a 5-star review and wherever you get your podcast, Talk of Champions. Just search it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You pick it. If you leave a 5-star review, even if it says something like, Ben, you do use too many voices, that's okay. As long as it's 5 stars. We love the criticism. We hate the 5 stars. That doesn't, I mean, the 1 or 2 star review. We thank all y'all for your patronage of our sponsors, as well as your support of us all day, every day. But you don't just have to limit yourself to 1 hour here on Talk of Champions every single day. Tomorrow, another show. It'll be me and Sudo. You can come join us at the Ole Miss Spirit. That's where we'd love to have you talking and jumping in on the always, forever ongoing Ole Miss conversation that's always happening. It's the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. He's Zach Berry at Zach_Berry. Riverland Roofing for all your roofing needs. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben. Thank you, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Peace.
And next time.